Sonic Mania did not have the most auspicious start, announced as it was during Sega's 25th anniversary Sonic celebration. Not so much a celebration as a glimpse into the soul of Satan himself.
See it. Sonic Hero. Watch right here.
Nonetheless, an all-new Sonic platformer aping the visual style and the level design of the original Genesis classics, with levels both remixed from the past and designed from scratch, was incredibly tempting. So the question comes, did Sega find a way to mess it up? Because, after all, it's Sonic, and that is what Sega's good at doing. The answer is no. Sonic Mania is bloody good. Provided, of course, that you really liked those Genesis games, because if you didn't, you might want to sit on your hands and wait for something else to come along, another 3D one with all of its voice acting and wacky, colourful forest friends and whatnot. This game does not have any of that. Sonic Mania can be adequately summed up with 2 words: more Sonic. Anybody who played and loved the classic 90s platformers will instantly find themselves at home here, and that's not just because this begins with Emerald Hill Zone. This is no mere showcase of level remixes and a few original designs, however. This is a full-fledged Sonic the Hedgehog game. A sequel, in fact, to Sonic 3. And I know we already had Sonic 4, and I'm actually one of the few people in the world who liked Sonic 4, but after you play Sonic Mania, it becomes very clear, very quickly, that Sonic 4 had the title that Sonic Mania deserves to have. Adopting a kitchen sink mentality to the design of every zone, Sonic Mania at once plays like a sequel and a best of. Taking familiar traps, familiar enemies, familiar zones, but then doing all sorts of weird and wacky things to them. And not in a gimmicky way, all of it's in a way that makes sense within the game. This isn't a typical Sonic Team endeavour, where they try too hard with new ideas and just create a hot mess. Even when being original, even when being clever, for the most part, Sonic Mania keeps it simple, which is what Sonic's been needing to do for about a decade. A handful of boss encounters take it a little too far, where they try to be too smart, throw in one gimmick too many, and create something that could be considered obtuse. Even with that said, the game's worst bosses are still interesting, and are never so complex that a small amount of experimentation won't provide you a solution. Sonic Mania boasts an interesting selection of classic levels to remix. The obligatory Emerald Hill Zone and Chemical Plant Zone are there, obviously, but rather than take all of the famous hits like Sonic Generations did, a few rather more obscure levels pop up. To my personal delight, Oil Ocean Zone gets its time to shine in the sun, and in typical Sonic Mania fashion, it, like any other familiar level that turns up, starts off indistinguishable from the original, but by the end of Act 2 could be considered an all-fresh experience. The way enemies are retooled, the way the environment works, everything is twisted and mutated, until finally you're facing some boss you've never seen before in a level you only faintly recognise. And it works. It works incredibly well. It could have come off as desperate, cloying nostalgia. It could have been lazy, they could have just vaguely redone the levels. Instead, each remix is robust and fully complemented by the original zones, all of which are equally fantastic. Brand new realms like the Press Garden Zone are beautiful, richly detailed, layered, and inventive in the way they play with the physics and the puzzles of Sonic to create some experiences within a familiar framework that we haven't had before. Sonic Mania is a fine example of how varied you can have a game while playing with only some basic tools. This is something a lot of other games, the Sonic series in particular, could stand to learn. With that kitchen sink mentality, multiple developers, and a whole mass of ideas going on within this framework, Sonic Mania could very easily have been a mess itself. But thanks to the right amount of restraint and artistic cohesion, it's a brilliant, worthy follow-up to the famous Genesis run. Visually, of course, the game resembles a Genesis title. However, environments are much more layered, detailed, and feature a whole variety of added special effects, but not so many that the whole thing comes off as too garish. The visual style is backed up by a soundtrack that easily belongs up there with the originals. Each zone is broken into 2 acts, and each act, similar to Sonic 3, has its own version of a theme tune. The remixed zones get 2 hot new versions of music that'll be familiar to most series fans, and the all-original stuff is strong if not stronger. Sonic Mania does a fantastic job of reaping everything from the first 3 Sonic games, jumbling them all up, and then adding extra stuff on top. It could have pushed the boat out a little bit further, given us some more original power-ups and enemies and whatnot, but what's there feels fresh and inventive, even when it's just an amalgamation of stuff the old games have done. And there's a lot of that in Sonic Mania, a lot of amalgamation. Enemies and bosses can look like twisted hybrids of things you've seen in the past. The remixed Hydro City zone, for an example, has elements of all the water levels from the original Sonics, making it more representative of the series as a whole than simply a retouch of an old zone. Sonic Mania does what Sonic's needed to do for so long, I can't say it enough. It kept it simple, and the result is a game that was hard to mess up, and a game that I'm thrilled to say isn't messed up at all. Aside from a few moments where the level design isn't quite on point and a couple of duff bosses, you can probably blast through the main campaign in like an afternoon, and there are a few additional modes like 2-player competition or time attack, as well as bonus stages where you can of course unlock Chaos Emeralds and silver and gold medals by completing those Collect the Sphere bonus levels. You remember those from Sonic 3? Yay! Some people might not find there to be enough content for their liking. I'm one of those people who consider replay value to be about more than just new stuff on top of the old stuff. To me, a game has replay value if I want to play it again, and Sonic Mania is a game I see myself playing again and again and again, and I really can't give higher praise than that. Like Sonic 2 before it, this is a game that I can pick up and play at any time. If I've got 5 minutes to spare, pick it up and play a zone. If I've got an hour to spare, even better, play it some more. It is, in a word, superb.
Now Sega, do not drop the ball on this one, please.
That's the sound of 25 years of Sonic.
9.5. Superb.
I said Emerald Hill Zone, didn't I? It's Green Hill. Oh, fuck!